Okay, you guys, let's take the Alive method that we've been learning together and apply it to our very first passage, Romans 12, 1 through 2. So you've made it 15 days through the Alive method. You've had lots of practice using your tools of observation. So now we're gonna work through this together just in case you've gotten stuck anywhere along the way. So the first question that we're always gonna ask is very simple. It's just, what does it say? We wanna make sure we understand what we're reading when we read it. We should be able to restate it to other people and it should make sense. So we wanna spend some time observing. There's a multitude of things that you can discover in this passage, but today I'm just gonna look at 3 of them. The first one is conjunctions. I'm really drawn to that first word in the passage, which is probably therefore, or in your version it might say and it begins to connect this passage here. And I'm going to look for the other conjunctions in the passage as well. The second thing I'm looking at is verbs. Where is the action in this passage? Is it passive? Is it active? Is it past? Is it present? Look for those verbs. They will help you figure out what the passage is really about. And then finally, cause and effect. What thoughts in these 2 verses are connected to each other? And then I'm going to write down questions because I should always have questions by the time I finish with this first step. And so my question for today is, how can I understand God's will? So now I'm going to move on to question 2. What's the backstory? So I'm going to start with the conjunctions, and I'm going to take note of my cross-references and study notes in my study Bible for more information. When I'm using those, I notice something really interesting, which is that first word, therefore, connects to the whole other 11 chapters in this book. This is a hinge verse in the book of Romans. I'm going to take note of that as well as other places where verses connect. So finally, I go to question 3, and you can pause your video if you want to work through this with me. Question 3 is, what does this mean? And this always takes a little bit more. And so I'm going to be asking the question, how do I experience God's will? So I'm looking for principles that apply based on what I've read so far. So I decide to write down some principles. These are sort of theories that I'm working through to figure out if they fit with what I've learned here today. So the first one is that transformation happens as I actively notice both how not to conform to the world and how to renew my mind. And the second one is that knowing God's will comes as a result of these actions that I find in the passage, as well as offering my whole self for worship. So I do my 5-filter test on those principles, and I try to discover, is it here? Is it true? Is it backed up by other places in Scripture? And I confirm that these ideas are supported. So now I can move to question 4. What does this mean for me? Because we know that the Bible is alive and active, it means whatever we're learning that day is important for that day. And we know that application often leads to worship or encouragement or even correction. And so I'm going to look at what I've learned today and I'm going to apply it to what I have coming up in my day. And I know that often I'm going to be repenting. So I go to my Bible, I go to my journal, and I write down a prayer. And I say, Lord, I want to be a person who is renewed in my mind and does not conform to the world. So God, will you help me today to see the ways that I'm tempted to do that and to turn back to you so that I might know your good and gentle way of showing me your will. So I write that down in my journal and I'm able and ready to go on with my day. So that's it. You did it. Congratulations. That's all it is. Every day we spend time in God's living and active word, and as we do, it comes alive in us. So I'll see you next time.